Today, we're gonna be checking out Tosin Abosi's new collaboration guitar with Musicman. Now, this is not technically a signature guitar. What this is a guitar that he's co-collaborated with Musicman, which is important because the Abosi guitars are still being produced. So you have an import model and a USA model from Abosi, and this is just something different, something added new. For those that like Tosin, for those that like Musicman, and for those that like this design. And I have to say, looking at it, and we're gonna go into detail, looking at it, I think you kind of think like it's different, but you may have seen this before. I have never seen anything quite like this in a production model instrument. Maybe a one-off from a luthier or something exotic, but there's a lot going on. And that's why on today's deep dive, we're gonna be checking out the Kaizen by Musicman. This is a 24 3/4 scale length on the high E string with a 25.5-inch scale length on the low E string and 25.7 on the low B string. And it is made in the USA. Starting with the headstock, you're going to notice the tuning keys are a little different, and that's because these are Steinberger locking tuning keys, and you adjust them from the bottom of the headstock instead of the side. Now, that allows them to put them wherever they want, and that's important because they wanted the strings to go straight through the nut and straight to the tuner with no break angle. And the reason for that is simple. This is a multi-scale fan fret guitar that has a non-locking tremolo, and that's important because this design helps keep the tuning stability without having to worry about using a locking nut or locking mechanism like you'd see on a Floyd Rose style instrument. The other thing that's a little different is the headstock is kind of Musicman-esque, but there's a little bit of carving. Like I said, there's no flat surfaces. Looking at the nut, it's made of melamine, which is a material that Musicman uses often. It's used on all kinds of guitars as well. And in fact, it's commonly used to make cooking utensils. So it's known for being hard and very durable. Going down the neck, we see 24 beautiful medium jumbo stainless steel frets on an ebony fretboard. And of course, we see that spindle truss rod that Musicman uses that I love, easy to adjust. For the pickups, we have two Musicman heat-treated pickups. They're both humbuckers, but the neck pickup is not only at an angle, it's also a mini humbucker, so it has a narrow field. It's about the size of a P90 when I measured it, so it was an interesting size. It's kind of unique. And then, of course, the bridge pickup is a full-size humbucker. They have metal covers, so when I first look at these, especially when you see them in black, you think they're going to be plastic covers. They're metal covers. Then looking at the electronics, we have a volume, tone, and a three-way switch, which we'll talk about in the geeky stuff. Looking at the back of the guitar, we have a roasted flame maple neck with a satin finish from the nut until the neck heel, which is for comfort, and then it's glossed around the headstock. And looking at the tip of the headstock, it looks like this is flat sawn and not quarter sawn. The body is made of alder, and it's covered in these beautiful carves that makes it super comfortable. Not only looks cool, but it's very comfortable. It feels like it kind of contours in all the right spots. Something else to note is that this is a satin polyester finish, and this guitar comes with a gig bag, and I believe it's a mono gig bag. And another thing you'll notice, and I'll give you some details, the back plate is metal and it is not flat. Obviously this was bent into position, so there's all these carves and contours in the body, and then this metal plate is following those, which is very cool. Now, when I removed the back plate, I saw one of the screw holes, and you can see the wood is very dark. It looks like it's roasted alder. That would make sense because this is a solid body guitar and it was very light, under 7 pounds. So I would imagine that roasting the wood is going to contribute to making the guitars lighter. Okay, it's time for the geeky stuff. Now, keep in mind, this is a prototype and there might be things that are changed, either added or deleted when they do the production run. More importantly, this is just a first look opportunity, and so let's just have some fun and see what they've come up with. Starting with the fretboard radius, it's called an infinity radius, and what that means is that the treble side of the fretboard is visible when you're looking down on the neck when you're playing. This is very comfortable when you play it. In fact, it was very, very noticeable right away, within seconds of playing it, that this was something different and something cool. You can see more of the fretboard. You're not just looking at the side of the fretboard, you're looking at kind of the whole thing. More importantly, the neck feels reminiscent to the Petrucci model, so it's not, in my opinion, as thin. It might be as thin, but it doesn't feel as thin. Another interesting thing about the guitar is this extended horn where the strap button is. So what's nice about this is it actually seats it. Look at how easy, effortless this is to do. I know it's kind of scary, but I mean, I'm literally not holding the guitar very much, the strap buttons. So you can see it's balanced well, and that seems to be something that's really interesting, like it will balance perfectly. And it looks like it will balance this way or this way, either way. Very, very nice and very thought out. So this horn here, it does have a purpose. I mean, you can tell that's what they were going after. Some way to either situate it perfectly, and kind of like this design too. Again, put it in your lap perfectly. And so, I mean, it definitely has a lot of things that are thought out. Everything seems to have a purpose and a reason. And that brings us to the 5-bolt system that they use and the contour where the neck is bolted on. It's fantastic. There was no issues getting to the upper frets. It felt great. And we call that the handshake when it feels just perfect in your hand. I would definitely say this feels really, really good. Back to the bridge. It is surface mounted, I guess I should say. It's not full floating. In other words, you can't pull back on the bridge. It's sitting there. And it has a very interesting feel to it. It feels very soft. But again, you know, like I said, you feel it kind of hitting the body there. So it's kind of cool. Kind of want to learn to finesse it. So I like it. I like it a lot, but I'm not as in love with it as I am on the Petrucci, even though that's full floating. And I like bridges against body. Just it feels, especially the 7-string, very delicate. And that's kind of where I want to go with this. It feels delicate, and that's something you usually like about tremolo. It's kind of soft, but again, it keeps you hitting that body. So you want to think about it if that's your playing style, if that's going to be a problem for you. So for me, I like a little bit of I feel like it's a little cumbersome there. It's not my favorite part of the guitar. The knobs, which again have the rubber rings like the Majesty and the other Petrucci guitars, but they're flat, they're not domed, so they don't come to a peak, so they're flat. I actually like these. You have the 3-way switch. It's kind of recessed into the body, which is really cool, very clean looking. And this switch is actually really interesting, and I'm going to show it to you. So looking at the electronics, what you're looking at right away is a super switch. So the 3-way switch is set up so that in the down position towards the bridge, it's the bridge humbucker. In the middle position, it is both single coils. In other words, your neck and bridge are activated, but in single coil mode. And the forward position, you're going to be the neck humbucker. Now, something to note, you're going to notice that it's all wired to a PC board, which is something we see very common on the other videos I've done in Musicman, and of course, Fender now, and Gibson. So it's definitely something we're going to be seeing more and more of in the modern USA made guitars. You have a 500K potentiometer for the volume pot, a 500K potentiometer for the tone pot, and you'll notice these trim pots. If you look right here, one says neck inner coil and one says bridge inner coil. I think that's so you can go in there and adjust it to where you can actually make it bridge humbucker and then the 2 inner coils for single coils in the middle position, or you can have it to be 2 humbuckers in the middle position, or maybe the humbucker in the bridge and the single coil in the neck. And I think that can all be kind of adjusted and pre-assigned is what it looks like. But keep in mind, this is a prototype, so it could be something that they're going to do for production or something they're using just to test this one out. Something else worth noting is right here, it looks like there's black overspray, but what I believe that to be is they painted and shielded the cavity before they send it to actual paint. That would explain why there's a screw with a ground wire grounded there, because it's actually connecting to the shielding paint. And I think that's something we're seeing more and more with, again, where they're painting the cavities with shielding paint and then sending them to have them painted. Another little interesting thing to note is they're using clear plastic tubing and inserting it into the springs to obviously stop the reverberation. So it's nice. It's a nice little idea. You can use foam. There's all kinds of things you can do, but I just thought it was an interesting note that they're doing that. Availability wise, these will be available in the satin black to retailers for the year 2022 in the probably the 3rd or 4th quarter. They can also be purchased direct from Musicman, and I believe you can get the satin white. I don't know what other colors are available, but next year, 2023, they'll be expanding the line, which means more colors and a 6-string version. Price-wise, these are going to sell for $3,999. Now, comparables in the market, you'll have Strandberg. They're not made in the USA, but they're still fetching about $2,400 to $2,000. And you have the import line of Abosi guitars. But again, those start at $2,000, and in the resale market, go much higher. And the USA Abosis even go more than that. Okay, let's do some sound samples. We're going to be running through a Victory V30 head into a 112 cabinet mic'd up with a Zoom H4. Okay, so let's go ahead and check the overdrive. Okay, and for the overdrive, I'm using a Victory V30 into a 112 cabinet mic'd up with a Zoom H4. So what are the pros and cons? Well, the cons are it's not easy to modify. In other words, I don't think you can change out the pickups if you don't like them. You can't change out the tuning keys if you don't like them. So it's kind of a love it or hate it kind of guitar. You really want to love this guitar because there's not a lot you can change about it. The other thing is the output jack is positioned in a strange place for me, and I didn't mind it. You might want to consider getting an angled guitar plug if you think this is going to concern you the way it sticks out. The pros are obviously it's well thought out. It's beautiful. It's expensive. But when you think USA Musicman, you don't think affordable anyways. I've played the Abosi models and I really, really like them. They are different from each other. Although I find the Abosi pricing to be a little bit easier, even though that's very expensive, I have to say that the Kaizen has a lot of the features that I like more. Ultimately, the takeaway I would give you is this. If you like the Abosi guitars, you definitely want to try this guitar out because it is different and you're not really buying two of the exact same kind of guitars. I hope to do another deep dive on maybe the 6-string in my own shop and do a more detailed review next time. This was a mobile deep dive and I did the best I can given the fact that I was doing it in the middle of the night at Sweetwater's facility with what I had around me. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. If you want to like and subscribe, you can go ahead and do that. And until the next time, thank you so much for your time and know your gear.